Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Let's Paint a Mini. So we're going to be looking at more of the Reaper Doom miniatures because I love them so very, very much. I really, really do. And I thought that we're going to take a look at the classic, the big guy. Well, not the big guy, but you know, he's one of the big guys. But he's the classic, the ever-loved Cacodemon. Now this is going to be a very simple paint job. We're not going to be using very many colors at all, actually. So why don't we just go ahead and dive right in. So the first thing that I did here was I did a base coat of just pure white. This is just a white base coat. You could use either just white paint or you can use a white spray primer. It's up to you, however you want to do it. I personally just did a base coat of pure white here just so I wouldn't have to mess with the spray paint. Oh, and then I've got a kitty on the table. Louise, if you don't mind moving, please. I'm trying to paint. I'm trying to paint. May I please? Okay. There we go. I love my kitty very, very much. However, sometimes she just gets a little bit in the way. All right. So like I said, just did a base coat of white here. Now the first thing that I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a base coat of the entire miniature itself. And to do that, we're going to start with the deep red here. This is just a very, very dark red color. And this will make a nice base coat for the Cacodemon himself. You know, I might need to get more of this paint too because I use it a lot. I use it as a base coat for a lot of red colors that I do. And I'm starting to run low on the bottle, and my paint nozzle is stopped up. Well, I thought I had a safety pin. I don't. Hang on. Okay, here we go. So, safety pin here. So when this happens, all you got to do is just take a little safety pin and your paint nozzle there. Just kind of poking in there. That should kind of help to get rid of any gunk that might be clogging the nozzle there. There we go. We'll get out a fair amount here because we are going to paint most of the Cacodemon himself. Alright, I'm just going to be using some random off-brand, no-name brush here. It's just kind of a big one to kind of get the job done pretty quickly. Alright, now the only thing that we're not going to do with this is we're not going to paint the sort of upper lip area of the Cacodemon because this part, sort of his face, is actually kind of pink. So we're going to not have that be as dark. But we are going to paint the rest of him. I also don't think it's going to be a big deal if you get a little bit of paint onto the horns, because we're going to go over the horns with another color later on. So don't worry about it, you know. Just try to get through it real quick. Shouldn't really take too long, to be honest. But have fun, unwind. Let's just enjoy a simple paint job. Take it one step at a time. One thing that I think I might do a little bit here with at least the back of this is I'm going to water down my brush just a little tiny bit. I'm just going to take the tip of my brush, just the tip, and just kind of dab it in there a little bit. That'll water down my my paint pretty oh, you know what? I might have gotten a little bit too much water in there. That'll water down the paint pretty substantially. Yeah, that's pretty runny now. You know what? I think it'll be okay, though. I think we'll be in good shape. Okay. But yeah, you can see that just kind of fills in all the crevices and all that stuff a lot faster, more efficiently. So yeah, you can water down your paint. The only thing that happens when you do this is that you might notice the layer is going to be not quite as, I don't really know how to describe it, but it doesn't quite cover up the white as much. That's not a huge deal though, because we are going to dry brush this entire layer of skin here with a lighter shade of red. So we'll do that here shortly. This also, when you do this, obviously too, it takes longer to dry. So if you're going to be moving on to a dry brush step, which is what we're going to do here, you will need to give some time to let this dry. Alright, there we go. So now we've got a nice layer of some deep red on there. It's just a really dark red color. So I'm going to rinse my brush off. Alright, and then like I said, I'm going to give him a few minutes to dry, actually, because I do want him to be fully dried before I move on to the dry brushing step, which is what I'm going to do next. We'll go over why shortly here, but I'm going to give him a couple minutes to dry, and I'll be back in a minute. Alright, there we go, and I think that our Cacodemon is now pretty efficiently dried. So let's go ahead and move on. Hey, you know what? Before I move on, though, I just kind of wanted to share something with you guys, something that I was kind of personally proud of a little bit. I went to Walmart at some point, a couple months ago, something like that, and I bought a bunch of these little tiny, little itty bitty like canvas boards for painting. Just bought a bunch of those. and I decided to try my hand at making basically a little miniature Bob Ross painting, kind of. And I think that it went together pretty well. I'm pretty proud of it. It's not great, you know. I'm definitely not an expert painter or anything like that. But yeah, I just thought that that was kind of fun. I just kind of wanted to share that with y'all. I was kind of proud of it. I even got a little tiny easel to go with it. So you know what? What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and set that right there in the background. Just have something kind of pleasant there. Okay, and let's move on a little bit. So let's move on to the actual red part of the Cacodemon. Now, typically what I would use here is just, I would use the same Master Series paints that I use, this Fire Red. What I'm actually going to use, though, is a different brand called Game Color. And the reason why, it's no disrespect to Master Series paints or Reaper Miniatures or anything like that. These are pretty much the same shades right here. But I've just noticed that this particular color, or at least the consistency of this particular paint, I don't know if it's just a coincidence or what, is really, 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 really good for dry brushing. So we're going to dry brush basically the entirety of everything that we've done so far using this bloody red. The other thing about this too is that it's got just a little bit of a shine to it. A little bit of a sort of semi-gloss color, so that will kind of give it a sort of slimy, wet sort of look that I feel like the Cacodemons would have. Let's just move on to one of our regular Citadel brand dry brushes here. And what we'll do is we'll just take that brush and we'll just kind of lightly dab it into our little paint puddle here. We're going to load up some paint onto the brush, but we're actually going to wipe off most of it. That's why they call it dry brushing, is because you do have paint on your brush, but it's such a small amount that it's almost dry. Yeah, you can kind of see that right there. Okay, and then we're just going to go over the whole Cacodemon. And like I said, this particular brand, this type right here, just happens to be really, really nice for dry brushing, which is why I'm going to be using it right now. You can use Master Series. I mean, honestly, you can use whatever brand of paint you want. I know that a lot of people, they don't have access to Master Series paints, or they don't have access to Citadel or anything like that. You can use any kind of paint that you want, obviously, but this is just what I'm going to be using right here. And again, this is just going to be kind of a standard, you know, bright red color. Oh, I've got Louise, I got my cat just hanging out on my table again. I don't know what I can do to you. Are you just going to sit down? Are you just going to sit down right in front of my workspace? What's there, bird? There, a bird? Oh, she's going to go hunt. Okay. Oh, not before messing with all the stuff on my other table. Now, you're probably going to get a little bit of red onto the spikes or the little flesh base that he's floating on here. Not even remotely a big deal. Don't worry about it. You know, obviously, if you can, try to go around them or whatever, but like I said, if you get a little bit of paint on them, not going to hurt you at all. Don't worry about it, even a little bit. One thing that I've noticed that there's a really big gap in between the sort of top piece of the Cacodemon and the base piece. And yeah, you can kind of see, yeah, right there, how there's just like a really big gap right there. And that's, you know, I mean, that's a little bit annoying, but I don't think that it ruins the miniature by any stretch. So if you have a sculpt that is the same sort of way, you know, I don't think that, you know, like I said, I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it ruins the miniature, but it is just something that's there. I would say just don't let it keep you down if you see it and you're like, oh, well, this miniature's completely ruined now. No, it's not ruined. I mean, yeah, it's not perfect, but you know what? Nothing in life really is. Very, very few things are perfect. We ourselves are not perfect. Even when we do miniature painting like this, there's no way that we can do one perfectly, so, you know, we just do the best we can with what we have. So, you know, just a nice little life lesson there. Just, you know, no big deal. Don't make a big deal out of imperfections. Nobody's perfect. Yeah, we'll be fine. There we go. That's got a really, really nice kind of color to it. But yeah, you can see by having a base coat... Excuse me. All right. By having a base coat of that deep red color, there's some nice deep shadow in with all that red, but then by using this bright, you know, bloody red, fire red color, that really brings out the redness of the Cacodemon. So it looks good. I am pretty happy with that. Let's just do a little bit more. All right, I'm gonna rinse off my dry brush. All right, and in the next step, we're going to use that same color, and we'll use that same first brush that we were using, for the base coat of the deep red. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and paint, like I said, this sort of upper lip right here with this same color. Make sure you kind of get on the underside of this upper lip right here, because it can be easy to sort of overlook them. We are going to paint the teeth later on, but you want to just try to avoid having any big white gaps in between, the flesh and the teeth and all that. So don't be afraid to get some paint onto the teeth. Yeah, just try to make sure to not have any white showing through. We'll even just kind of do the lower jaw here a little bit. We'll just kind of add some red there. And I think that'll be fine. There we go, now he's very, very red. Okay, so we're gonna rinse that brush off. All right, and the next step, let's move on, while we let that dry, let's move on to all of the spikes in the teeth and all that. So I'm gonna take out this golden blonde color, which I've been using a lot lately for teeth and claws and horns and spikes and extremities and that kind of thing, because I don't really like to just have white, just because I don't really think that a lot of, especially monster type miniatures like this, tend to have, perfect pearly white teeth or anything like that. So I like to have just a little bit of an off-white kind of color, and I feel like this blonde color is really, really good for that. All right, let's just use, whoa, throwing stuff around. Okay, let's use a Reaper medium-sized round brush here, medium Reaper round brush, 1 gauge or whatever. All right, and let's just let's start with the teeth. Let's just kind of do each little tooth one by one here. All right, there we go. Now he's got a nice set of gnarly chompers there. All right, that looks pretty good. Now let's move on to the spikes that are surrounding his whole body. Oh, uh-oh. The sticky tack just came undone a little bit. All right, well, tell you what, I'm going to rinse my brush off anyway. So one thing that is something you want to kind of consciously stay aware of is that the longer it takes for you to do any particular paint step, then that means the longer you're going to have paint on the tip of your brush like that. Now, the thing about that is that if you do have a lot of paint on your brush for a long period of time, that tends to sort of stain your brush and kind of mess with the bristles. So if you are doing something that takes a fair amount of time, like what I was just doing right there with the spikes that we still need to finish, is that you might want to occasionally rinse off your brush, rinse off your bristles, just to... Oh, sorry, I'm just going to get some paint off of here. But you might want to occasionally rinse off your brush just to make sure that your bristles have a longer lifespan. That's just something to be aware of. All right, let's get back into this. I can press it back down on there. Just using more sticky tack. I don't think I had enough on the bottom. The other thing too is that I've got this lamp right here that's really, really, really bright. You can see my shadow, coming down here. But a really, really bright light coming right down on top. And I do that so that the miniature will show up more easily on camera. But that also heats up the sticky tag, which makes it not quite as stiff. Makes it really, really malleable. So sometimes you just need some extra sticky tag. All right, and I think that that will do just fine. All right, so let's just dive right back in. All right, so there we go. Now we've got our nice horns there for our Cacodemon. That looks pretty good. All right, so I'm going to rinse my brush off. And the next step, what we're going to do is something that might be seen as a little bit weird, but I have faith that it will work. Hopefully it does. I don't think I've ever done it before, actually. I've just kind of experimented on smaller spaces on other miniatures. So let's go ahead and do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this larger brush right here, and I'm going to continue using that golden blonde color. And what we're going to do is we're going to paint this entire base, this entire fleshy base, And I know what you're thinking. You might be thinking, why are you doing that? That's weird. Which is a fair question. But, you know, well, I mean, before we need to kind of address what we're going to do with the base. Because it seems like, just from the sculpt, that it's supposed to be sort of fleshy, gross, you know, bloody mass of flesh and gibs. And so because of that, I kind of want it to look like, you know, fleshy, bloody bits. Now, typically what I would do is I would just take, you know, for like other miniature videos that I've done, my cat is just walking right across my lap. Louise. Got a cat on my lap now. Okay, so what I've done in the past is I'll just take a color like blood red or fire red or some kind of red color, and then I'll dry brush a flesh color over that. Well, I kind of want to do something a little bit different here. I kind of want to start with, you know, a somewhat fleshy color. In this case, this golden blonde is going to be fine. This color will do just fine. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take that Citadel Technical brand, that Citadel Technical color Blood for the Blood God, and then we're basically just going to coat it completely in that... Louise. Okay. So we're going to take that Citadel Blood for the Blood God stuff, and we're just going to basically apply another layer of that stuff to this. And that's going to add a little bit of an orangey, reddish sort of wash sort of feel. But it's also going to create that wet, bloody look. So it's going to be a nice, fleshy, bloody red kind of thing. It's going to look nice and slimy, but it's also going to look completely different from the Cacodemon itself. Alright, now, I have run out of golden blonde there, which I kind of expected, given how much I used for the spikes and how much I'm going to need for the base. Let's just get out a little bit more here. I don't think I'm going to need any more than that. That should be fine. Alright, there we go. So now we've got the base. They're done. Alright, rinse off my brush. Alright, and now that we are completely done with all of the golden blonde that we were just using, we're going to move back to that sort of upper lip of our Cacodemon. Now, if you remember, it's supposed to be kind of pink. It's not really supposed to be red like that. So let's take out some entrail pink, and then we're going to dry brush some of this color over that red color that we've got above his lip. Maybe. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right, and then I'll just use a smaller dry brush here. All right, there we go. So now we've got a nice pink sort of color there for the upper lip of the Cacodemon. Rinsing off that. All right, and then next up, we're going to go ahead and get that eye out of the way. Now, the Cacodemon has very, very bright green eyes, or has a very, very bright green eye. So we're going to use this pale green color right here. All right, let's move back to that medium Reaper round brush that we were using, just so we can be a little bit more precise with what we're doing. Don't have to be super detailed, fortunately, because this is a pretty large eye. All right, there we go. Now he's got a nice bright green eye there. All right. Tell you what, I really want that eye to be dry before I move on. Well, I don't think it's really going to matter, actually, because we can do our steps in any order that we want, really. All right, so let's just move right on to the next thing that we're going to do. Now, I kind of want to add just a little bit more shade specifically to the face and to the eye. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out some of this... wait, nope, that's not the right thing. Hang on, where's the thing I'm looking for? There's the thing I'm looking for. All right. So I have out here some Citadel brand Nuln Oil shade. This is just a really, really thin sort of liquid that can kind of seep into the lower contours and lower crevices of miniatures. I don't think it matters too much what type of brush that we use, so I'm just going to use a random larger brush here. And what we're going to do is we're going to try not to go too crazy, but what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of this shade, and we're going to just go around the eye and the upper lip. Let's start with the upper lip, actually, because it just occurred to me that that eye might still be a little bit dry. Or a little bit wet, rather. Yeah, we really want to get the middle of that eye there, because he's got kind of a slit in his eye that kind of serves as his pupil a little bit. Yeah, there you go. So now that kind of darkens up the upper lip so that it's, you know, it's still got its sort of pink color, but it kind of blends a little bit more with the rest of the head, which is great. Okay, and the next step, we're going to go ahead and use a semi-liberal amount here of this stuff for the shade, or for the base rather. And then, yeah, like I said, we're going to do some special stuff after that, too. So let's just darken this up a little bit, kind of darken the lower contours and all that. All right, there we go. Like I said, kind of a liberal amount there. Honestly, too, that looks pretty cool. I would say that if you just want to leave that the way that it is, that kind of looks a little bit like, yeah, you know what? Actually... So sometimes, when you're painting miniatures, you kind of realize that something that you're going to do, or might have accidentally done, or might have been the first step in something, looks better than what you were intending to do anyway. And you know what? I really, really like all of this right here. This kind of reminds me a little bit of, like, the space jockey from the first Alien. You know, that sort of old, you know, fossilized, calcified sort of look to whatever, with the dark underlayer. I like that a lot, actually. And you know what? I think that with that, I think I'm just going to go ahead and call it with that. I'm actually pretty happy with how this guy turned out like that. Like I said, I was thinking about doing a, you know, a fleshy, bloody kind of thing with the base here, but I really like that, actually. Looking at it on camera, looking at it just as it is, I think that looks great, and I kind of want to just keep that the way that it is. So I think with that, I'm going to go ahead and call it. So thank you, everybody, for watching. If you liked the video, go ahead and throw it a like. If you want to see more miniature painting videos, if you want to see the entire Reaper Doom miniatures getting painted, you can subscribe to my channel. I'll also post some random stuff about Doom and whatever else I really want. I don't really have a sort of, you know, Doom is probably a central theme to my channel. But I'll do things not related to that. I just recently played a little bit of Doom VFR for the channel, so you can check some of that out. That was a lot of fun. I might post the second part to that, which is like the conclusion of the game. But we'll just see how it goes. Yeah, you can do that. What else? Oh, you know what? Something that I was going to show you too that I forgot about. One of my friends 3D printed for me a Cacodemon too. So this is kind of, you know, he's not quite done just yet, but yeah, this was made with a 3D printer, so that's kind of cool, you know, just if you wanted to look at some extra stuff there. But you know what, I've been rambling on for the past minute or so, and I think that that's enough of that. So thank you again, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next time on Let's Paint a Mini. Bye.